A new Mishnah. This is Mishnah 16 by Rabbi Yehoshua, who was the second of the students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And Rabbi Yehoshua, who was the one who had told us when we talked about the negative things, he had said it was a chavera, a bad friend. So we can see a little similarity, but not exactly. Here, Rabbi Yehoshua Omer, Rabbi Yehoshua says, ayin hara. The word ayin hara, we're familiar with with ayin hara, we call it an evil eye. The yetzer hara, the evil inclination, or an evil inclination. The sinas habrios, and hatred of other people. Motzian es ha'adam min ha'olam. They remove a person from the world. We'll start a little bit backwards. Motzian es ha'adam min ha'olam, when it talks about removing someone from the world, does it mean that are going to get punished with death, or does it mean it destroys their life in terms of the way they're living it? So you could look at it either way, but a lot of the understanding is that it's not so much that you're going to get punished for it per se, but these are things which just undermine your quality of life. You're not really living a good life if you have all of these traits. Now, an ayin hara, so there are two different ways we can read this. We can read it as the concept of an ayin hara, that I'm looking at your stuff with a negative eye, and therefore, sort of putting a whammy on you as we think of an ayin hara, which there is some mystical concept of when someone is looking at someone askance, someone, they're either jealous of you or feeling like they would like to have it instead of you, etc. Then there's some type of thing called an ayin hara, and however that works, it does have some effect. And that's why we always like to say when we talk about things that are good for us, right, we like to say bli ayin hara. I don't want to give it an ayin hara, right? But the other way to look at it is that instead of saying ayin hara, that if that way it's ayin ra'ah. It's an evil eye, as in I look at everything in a negative manner, right? And we've talked about that before. So the Rambam, he views these three things as, for example, the ayin ra, he looks at that as the desire for money. And it's the same thing that we had said before when we talked about an ayin ra, which is you're stingy, you're miserly, you are worried that you don't want to make sure that you don't lose anything for yourself, and you're very selfish in terms of giving it away, and you always want more. The ayin, the yetzer hara is that desire, right? Your desire, general evil inclination. You want to do all kinds of things. They could be possibly immoral or inappropriate, etc. And you just or it could be even it's not necessarily inherently immoral, but it's just you want you're totally seeking pleasure, and that's all you want. You're not really thinking about anything for the greater good. And then the final one, according to the Rambam, he's kind of the evil soul. It's in your nefesh, your soul is nefesh, is evil. Which the way the Rambam understands it is that he's connecting that to that a person who's sinas habrios. You have hatred of other people. He looks at, like, this is the type of person. It's not even so much that he goes around and he doesn't. He'd rather this person rather go out and live by himself. He doesn't want to. He doesn't have to deal with other people. He's totally antisocial, and he can't stand any other people. So he's going to go out into the woods, wherever he's going to live, all by himself, and not have anything to do with anybody. Not and now sometimes we say that's a good thing. We talked about it as, if you had terrible neighbors, right? You have to get away from them. Better to be on your own than to be influenced negatively. That's not this guy. This guy he just can't stand anybody else, and therefore he doesn't want to be with anybody else, and that's why he's going off. And that's the type of person who you're never gonna grow for sure. And it's a wrong reason for being all by yourself. We know also that people who have strong desires and always want more, and people who are jealous, and we've spoken about this idea before, it burns at you on the inside. It's also not healthy, right? It's not emotionally healthy, but it's also physically it can affect you, because I think one of the things that he was talking about may have been referring to ulcers. Like when there's something that you're worried, or you want something and you can't have it, you could develop something, different physical negatives, and therefore, when it says Motzi and Nasa Olam and Olam, it takes a person out of the world. It's because he, it's because that you're going to be healthy, your health is going to be affected negatively, and that's why you're going to end up dying before your time because you didn't take care of your emotional health, which affects your physical health. Rabbeinu Yonah, he looks at really the ayin hara idea that other I look at other people and I say, well, when can I be like you? And that's all I'm thinking. It was like I want what you have. I'm upset that you have it. Not even just that I want it, but it's like you I don't want you to have it. And he says to a person who desires it, what other people want, you're going to go destruction to that concept of the ayin hara. He also talks about the idea of, again, that your health is going to be affected. There's also an idea that sinas habrios, hatred of other people, is why do we do that? So we have sinas chinam. Sinas chinam is unwarranted hatred, right? We know the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed for that reason, and so when we're talking about hating other people, we're talking about not with a good reason. Sometimes there is a valid reason to hate someone else. If that person is wicked, is truly wicked, then it's okay to hate them. But first of all, you have to be able to judge that. But most people are not like that, right? It's not. There's usually we hate another person because they looked at us the wrong way, or because a lot of times it's because they have something that we don't have, and we really want to be. We want it to be ours, and that is definitely not a valid reason. The Tiferes Yisrael in this Mishnah says these three things, the ayin hara, the yetzer hara, and the hating of other people, correspond to the three pillars: Torah, Avoda, and Gemilut Chasadim. These are the opposite. That a ayin hara, he views it differently than others. He says the ayin hara literally is like a bad eye or a weak eye. That your eyes are weak, not necessarily in terms of your physical eyesight, but in terms of how you view things, and not in terms of, again, viewing it specifically negatively, but weak in the sense that you are. It could be a little bit negative, but also that you're looking at something like, I don't see this in it's the true picture. I see it in a way. For example, he talks about his faith in terms of having a weak faith. And he looks at the idea of that if your faith is weak, that's how your eyes are weak in that area. Your eyes are weak in your Torah study. That person has doubts about it. The way you're viewing it is in a way that is distorted because you don't see it clearly. The Yetzer Hara is something that's going to overcome you when if you're affected by your evil inclination, then you're not going to be able to do mitzvot. In fact, the Yetzer Hara is trying to get you not to do them. So that's exactly the opposite of the second pillar, which is avodah. And the third pillar, which was gemilas chasadim, well, if you don't like other people, you're certainly not doing good things for them. So the person who is sonei tabriot, a person who is hating other people, is a person who is certainly not going to be fulfilling the mitzvah of chesed, and again, undermining that pillar. Finally, we'll just do one more for today, and an interesting take from Irving Bunin, which I'm not sure if we mentioned this in another area, but when he looks at it as the eye, the ayin hara, right? It's singular. It doesn't say eyes plural, and he says the idea is when you look at things, you have to look at it in a balanced view, and with two eyes, right? If you look at it with two eyes, you're looking at it from different perspectives. And one of the things he talked about was with the ayin hara is referring to someone who's jealous of others. So if we look in the Torah, when it talked about the Ten Commandments, right? The 10th commandment was lo sachmod, a person should not covet what others have. And the Torah says you should not desire his property, his wife, right? Different things, his field, etc. And then it says v'chol ashel reyecha, and all that belongs to him, everything that he has. And so what are we adding when we say everything? You just named a whole bunch of stuff, and now you say and everything. So he wants to say that look at it as when you look at someone else, you have to look at the whole thing. Sometimes, right, we think, oh, look at that person, he's got it all, he's got this, that, the other thing, whatever it might be. You're missing part of the picture. You have to be able to see what else he has. He has this challenge, he's got this problem, you know what, whatever you think he's got this wealth or he's got this big house or whatever, it comes with headaches. There are different negatives to that as well. And you should not be just looking at with one eye. You have to look at the whole picture and see that it comes with a price as well. And we'll just end with the famous story of the guys, the person who wanted what everyone else had, and everyone was told, okay, everyone take your little peckle, you take your package, and we're gonna redistribute all of the different ways that Hashem set up everybody's life. So everybody throws their package into the middle, and now you want to go see, I want to have what he has. So you start looking, and but now you get to see what he has, and you see that he's got all these other things, and by the time you get finished, you go and you see whatever was given to you, that's the best choice for you. And you really don't want what everyone else has because it comes with different negatives as well. And you don't want those negatives. You're able to deal with what you got. You don't want to have to deal with that other person. And ultimately, that's the idea here, according to what he says of the ayin, is that you have to look at everything with a balanced eye, and you have to be able to understand that while it looks good on the outside for that person, there are other things that come with it, and you may not want to have to deal with that. We'll hold it here for today.